Welcome back, nap trappers. We are talking about something that divides the internet, contact naps.
Yes, it definitely does.
All right, I'm going to shoot from the hip here, Beck. Are you for or against contact naps?
I'm absolutely for contact naps. I feel like
Yes,
they
I knew I
definitely
liked
have
you.
their place. Yeah. How about you,
Absolutely.
Sally?
No, I'm
Yeah.
exactly the same. And I think I want to talk about how contact naps can actually help you get better
Mm.
sleep in general, how you can use contact naps as a tool, and how and when and how to move away from them if they're no longer working for you, if you want to move away from them.
Mm.
I First of all, I think let's just debunk a myth here that
Yep.
there is an idea that any sleep outside of the cot, the crib, the bassinet is trash, that is not
Oh, yes, the
restorative,
old
that
term,
is
junk sleep.
junk sleep. That's it.
Yeah,
It's just not true. Oh,
absolutely. No, it's a really strange term to use because you would imagine that any sleep is going to be worthwhile, no matter how it is, what way it's taken. But definitely when I was first doing this, starting off in the sleep world, the coined junk sleep phrase was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And if you weren't having your baby sleep in the cot or the crib or the bassinet, then it wasn't worth doing at all.
yep, you're doing it wrong.
Mm.
I think contact naps. And so I'll just explain if anyone's not sure what we're talking about with a contact nap. A contact nap would be a baby sleeping in your arms. I'll even extend it to like fully assisted nap in this case. So whether a baby's sleeping in the carrier while you're out on a walk or you're making dinner, sleeping in the pram, the car, you are fully assisting them and watching Netflix whilst a baby sleeps in your arms.
Right.
Something where they don't have to be self-settling and independently sleeping in the cot. I'll even say maybe even they start the nap in the cot and then you rescue it with a contact nap. You know, they finish it off in your arms. No problem.
Bouncing on the Swiss ball?
Bouncing on the Swiss ball. Big one. Absolutely. There is this whole sort of rhetoric that you're building a rod for your own back. Well, if they always sleep in on you, you'll never get them into the cot, blah, blah, blah. Let's just hold up for a second because you and I have been doing this for a long, 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 long time with babies having all sorts of wild sleep scenarios. And I will actually almost prescribe assisted and contact naps in the early stages of our sleep work. So let's say we're working on a 2-week package and nights are shocking, days feel shocking. We need to make this sustainable and we need to get on a schedule. And in order to do that and to minimize tears and the fight and the battle, let's use all the tools at our disposal. So if your baby loves a car nap, great. We're going to drive just for a couple of days. I'm not signing you up to drive for the next 6 months. I think no one can afford that kind of petrol. But just to get through the day on a great schedule, chances are we're moving away from feeding to sleep, so we can use motion to put a baby to sleep, and it just gets us to bedtime. Because for me, nights, well, we always start at nights when I'm working and when I'm sleep training and teaching self-settling and getting that all into place. The nap brain and the night brain are like two different parts. I have never had it really be confusing for a baby that, we're fully assisting during the day. We're driving 3 naps a day. And then come the evening, we're asking a baby to self-settle and link sleep cycles in their cot independently all night long. I've just never had it be confusing. So by sort of separating the two parts of the day, we can stagger the process and make it sustainable for families. So you fully assist during the day whilst you work on independent bedtime and overnight. And I'm pretty sure, Becky, you do something similar.
I absolutely do assisted naps and contact naps because I want bedtime to be super successful. And the most the way that we can encourage a successful bedtime is by making sure our little one is nicely well rested from a great day's worth of sleep. So if we're fighting hard to try and sleep train and use a technique during the day, then it's very rarely going to work, because putting a technique in, for nap 1 and nap 2, that's a big shock to a little one.
It's a big shock.
They have no idea what you're trying to do. And so quite often, if you're trying to do sleep training, then it takes a long time for them to actually fall asleep. And then those naps get sort of pushed back and so forth. Our little ones are really tired. You may, if they're on a 3-nap schedule and you've been sleep training, there's a high chance that you're not able to fit the 3rd nap in, because, it's taken so long to get nap 1 and nap 2 achieved. And so you're not really on the greatest wicket when you go into the night.
Yeah.
Whereas if we sort of break it down into bite-sized chunks and we sort of go, okay, we're working on nights, let's assist the day, let's get great sleep in through the day so they're nice and well rested, they're going to be so much more receptive to the new things that you're going to start implementing at bedtime. You're going to have better success. And it means that you're not going to have such an overtired little one going down, which means with any luck, you're going to have some bigger chunks of sleep in that first night, and it's going to feel so much more successful.
And it will also ideally minimize tears. And that's a huge part of our job. And overtired babies, look, that the chances are there'll still be tears involved, but overtired babies can cry really hard. And if we can have built up sleep totals and protected wake windows, and as you said, got to bedtime with an otherwise pretty well rested baby, day doesn't have to be perfect, but we get to bedtime in a pretty good state, then we have already organically reduced tears. But you also haven't had a whole day of crying because you've attempted nap training and then we're going into the night. And that is overwhelming for anyone. It is. Even a sleep consultant who has a relatively high threshold for crying with the sleep training process. So families are also more likely, understandably, to sort of throw in the towel because that's not enjoyable and it doesn't feel productive. Whereas when we can break it down and you get to bedtime and then bedtime isn't as bad as you're anticipating when we start making the change, everything feels so much better. And you know that you're just working on one thing at a time. And it's also because bedtime and overnight is when we as humans are primed differently for sleep. So if we just work with the grain of a baby's circadian rhythm, we're kind of picking our battles as well. The other reason I like assisted or particularly contact naps in this particular example is often when we are working on independent sleep, often I'm working with families that have been co-sleeping, and it can feel like a huge change for mother and baby alike to go from all of this close connection and proximity to a baby just being in a crib, in a cot. And parents can sometimes struggle with the idea of I never get to hold my baby or be with them while they're sleeping again. And I think for the most part, you can have your cake and eat it too in this scenario. So you get to cuddle for those naps, assist them, also have the flexibility to get out of the house, like go for a pram walk, not feel chained to the cot day and night, and then reclaim your sleep, your independent sleep at bedtime and overnight, but know that you get to have a cuddle during the day. And I think that's a really important way of also working with a parent's comfort levels.
Absolutely. Comfort levels are really important for us as sleep consultants because we always want our families to feel supported and that they're heard. And so doing things gung-ho can be really anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
And so when we're doing the contact naps and so forth, and then we're working with the nights, things will start to fall into place much more easily. The confidence starts to build, and then we can start looking at maybe reducing the level of assistance for nap 1 and then, essentially nap 2 later on down the track. And it makes it more sustainable. I think you mentioned that before. Yep. But also it provides an opportunity for our families to see how our little ones are communicating with us as well. So we have referred to this in other episodes where our little ones, our babies, are communicating with us all the time. And when we're first starting to do the contact naps and so forth, a lot of little ones are very into it. They're really into, I
Yep.
really want the snuggles and the cuddles
Yep.
and the rocking and the patting and all the things to get down. But once their nights start to improve and they're sleeping these big chunks of sleep, or perhaps they're starting to sleep through the night, it tends to sort of move in the other direction in terms of, okay, well, maybe for nap one, I'm not so keen on being held or patted or rocked. Maybe it is too stimulating. And so they will start to sort of show that through their maybe less enthusiasm
Yeah.
for the nap and
It
start to
can
sort
just
of arch and pull
suddenly,
away.
yeah,
Change.
arching,
Yep.
just feel like they're fighting it a bit
Fighting it. Yep.
more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really common scenario, in which case it's like, okay, great. This baby has these skills
Mm-hmm.
that you've seen them do for 12 hours overnight.
Yeah.
Great, let's listen to them, because the baby actually plays a huge role in this. They're not
Yeah.
booking the consultation with us or listening to this podcast, but they're a big key player in the whole sleep
Well, they are
training and nap
directing
training.
the show.
Yes.
It
Yep.
is while we're wanting to improve things, it really does boil down to what our little ones are showing us that they can do. And we've got to have our eyes open to what it is that they're showing us. So that's really important too, is that while we definitely want to have contact naps, there is a time where we will probably and most likely encourage you to start moving away from that to encourage a nap in the cot at least. But just knowing that in terms of sleep, it's better to get the nap achieved than it is to
Yes.
fight a self-settling scenario.
Yep.
Because again, for me personally, I'm always protecting my nights. Like, I always want those nights to go well, because for parents, they need the downtime, they need to recoup, have some time with their partner or other significant other half. It's really important to have those nights, and then look at the day again and sort of like, if it didn't quite go well on that particular day, have a great night and then come back to it and sort of readjust or do something slightly different in terms of how you settle your little one off to sleep. But yeah.
And I don't know if you notice this too, Beck. Like, let's say we're doing a 2-week package. I will often notice that families on sort of day 3 or 4 will actually say, so they'll have watched their baby master this self-settling. Like, can't believe it. Oh my goodness, we're all feeling so much better rested. And then they'll say to me, do you think I could put baby down for nap 2? Because I might have said, look, on Friday we'll start on naps. I really like to stagger the process for them so no one feels rushed. And then they'll often say to me, do you think we could? I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. I've been waiting for this moment, because you have this newfound confidence because you have just watched your baby self-settle and sleep so beautifully that, like, what if I put my baby down for depending on which nap 1, nap 2, whatever it is, and just see, because I know they can do this, and because they themselves are better rested, they have the reserve, as in the parent has the reserve to tackle the nap. Whereas when you've been up 10 times before midnight and started today at 4:30 a.m., the last thing you want to do is nap train at 12:45 in the middle of the day. So it's just a really kind of profound transformation where you almost get excited to start working on cot naps, because you're like, hang on, maybe I could have an hour to myself during the day.
So nice.
And parents always that's when they start to direct the 2-week package. And I love it, because absolutely, I'm so here for that. Equally, if parents want to keep a contact nap in, I'm yet to really have a problem, as in I'm yet to experience that upsetting sleep unless a baby starts to fight it, because they would prefer to be in the cot, which, as you said, then we need to start listening to baby.
Yeah, so 2 thoughts on that as well. So the first thing too that I wanted to mention is the naps. Sometimes parents are sort of, you get to your day 3 or 4 and parents are like, can I put my little one down into the cot? So going back to that, So a lot of families as well, and, we talk about crying and how this is, I almost hate talking about the crying side of things of sleep training because for a lot of families, it's the reason that they don't do sleep work.
Yeah.
But the flip side is that when you're working on sleep at night and it's successful and you can hear that, potentially there are some tears at bedtime while you're doing the settling process, for a lot of families have never really listened to their little one cry. Like they don't have a scale of, oh gosh, well, okay, so now I've heard little Johnny, that was probably low grade. That was like a 4 because I've definitely heard him now at a 10.
Yeah. Yeah, you get perspective, don't you?
There's perspective and there's scope. And so if you've had to do a bit of sleep work overnight, you're listening to what's going on and you can read it a little differently. And you've got a bit of data behind you in terms of, okay, well, little Johnny he might be like an 8 or 9 when I leave the room, or if I'm doing a bit of shush pat, but then after a few minutes, he dials it down and then we're back to a 6 and then he gets to about a 4 and then he drops off to sleep. And so now you can hear all that happening. You can then apply that for the naps. So you're a little less inclined to sort of get super anxious about doing a little bit of nap training because you've heard some of the tears that have been happening at bedtime and you can sort of go, oh, okay, well, yep, that's about an 8. He should be at about a 4 and about 3, 2. Yep, he's at the 4.
Yeah, he's at a 4.
He's about to drop off shortly.
He found his thumb. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe a 4 you might have thought a 4 was really high, intense crying, prior to doing a bit of sleep work because you didn't have the scope there. Does that make sense, the way that I've described that?
No, absolutely. And that in and of itself is a form of confidence then. And knowing your baby even more beautifully and intimately than you already do. I think it can be so hard when you have inconsistent days and inconsistent nights to even know where to start. And so often we just want to nip things in the bud and fix. So we don't ever let some of the crying run its course, in which case the roller coaster goes up, must come down. We don't get to the down. So there's just always this fear of this base level of escalation. But when you have set your days up properly and then there is some crying, as you said, you experience the highs and the lows and you are able to gauge it. And of course, everything is far more manageable when you've had some sleep.
Yeah, 100%.
You can tackle anything.
The second thing I wanted to touch on too was, I know you mentioned before that there more often than not, you don't sort of see a problem with a contact nap impacting the nights. And this is true. However, there are times when we might see a bit of there's improvement to begin with. So there's real improvement to begin with, and we've contact napped and we're doing, say, 3 contact naps and we've seen great improvement and we're kicking some goals, but then we hit a bit of a plateau. And sometimes when that happens, it doesn't happen often, but if we're seeing a bit of a plateau where we just can't get over the other side of things, that might be one time where I sort of look at how much assistance is being offered for the naps and potentially start moving away from, especially if we're self-settling at bedtime, maybe offering an opportunity for nap 1 or nap 2 to self-settle so that we're getting another moment in time for our little ones to practice learning that skill. And then that is usually the one thing that will sort of go, okay, so now we can kick over and things start sort of improving again overnight. So that would probably be, if mum and dad or whoever's looking after baby love a contact nap and it's working, totally fine. But if we sort of start seeing a bit of a funny moment overnight, it might be the case that we need to offer
Which
more
actually reminds me of a family I worked with in New Zealand. I can't even recall, maybe 10-month-old baby on 2 naps. And this was one of the rare times where I did have to say, oh, okay, we need to get this show on the road a little bit, because this baby, before we started working together, was napping in the pram inside in the house. That was the sleep association. And what I realized was that this baby, although following my schedule, because he wasn't self-settled, so he was being rocked to sleep in the pram. He was asleep within sort of 30 seconds. Like, he just
Right.
loved this. So what ended up happening was he didn't have sort of enough sleep onset, like the sleep latency, the time it takes to fall to sleep. So when we write out our nap timing, so let's say nap 1 was 9:30 to 11, for example. If that was a self-settling baby, we're going to pop them into the cot at 9:30, 9:08, little Johnny, love you, see you soon. Out we go. And little Johnny's going to fluff around for 5 minutes, let's say.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, we've got a podcast episode all about how long it can take to fall asleep. But, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes he falls asleep. Whereas this baby was falling asleep within 30 seconds. And I'm not even exaggerating, like out cold.
Right.
You start rocking that baby was done.
Yep.
And so he actually was having too much day sleep when I then sort of was reevaluating, because he was taking the full 90 minutes as opposed to the onset time being included in the nap time scheduling. And so when I looked at like, why have we still got a little like these blips overnight, or I think it was a little bit of a battle at bedtime, even though this baby had nailed self-settling. I was like, oh, you're actually too good at the contact naps. And I need you to include sort of that buffer timing of falling asleep into the actual nap time, because you are now to having a little bit too much day sleep, and we need to give that back to bedtime to reduce the pushback, the battle, the I'm not sure what to do and maybe I'm not tired enough. So yes, that was a scenario in which I saw, okay, you're just too good at the contact naps. We need you to figure this out a little bit more on your own.
I just think, the contact nap gets such a bad rap when really for us it can be such a great tool to use in terms of getting sleep on track, and you should never feel bad about doing a contact nap. It's absolutely worthwhile and 100% has its place.
Totally.
In terms of getting great sleep.
And I will add, if you're holding on to nap 3 for as long as possible, throw out the independent, even if you've got a great self-settler for nap 1 and nap 2, nap 3 can often be a beast. That is so fine to keep as a fully assisted nap until you drop it, because you're dropping it. It's not going to interrupt the other 2 great naps. In fact, it will help you hold on to it for as long as possible. You do it in the pram while your toddler's going for a scooter ride. You do it in the carrier while you're making dinner. You just got to get it in to bridge you to bedtime until baby is ready to drop it. So that is where we would also say, keep it.
Yeah, assist away.
Yes, exactly. Assist. All right. So I think message received loud and clear. Bec and Sally are pro contact and assisted naps. And I think this is the thing, right? We work with families doing a DIY approach who don't have a whole village that are coming in to say, don't worry, I'll put that baby to bed for you. I'll carry that baby. I'll feed. I'll do whatever. You're not even at residential sleep school if you're doing a DIY approach where you have teams of doctors and nurses settling, like doing the thing. So in order for this to be achievable for you, we make it sustainable. We break it down. We stagger the process. We scaffold, we build so that it all starts to fall into place, and you can celebrate the wins the whole way along whilst you feel more empowered. You see your baby nail these skills. You've got more tools in your toolkit, and it means that you've achieved this, you and your baby. So you can have your cake and eat it too. Contact naps are a go. Unless they're too good at it, like that my one baby in New Zealand, and unless your baby starts to push back. But nights first, then tackle naps.
Love it.
All right. Go and enjoy those contact naps. I miss them, to be honest. There's like sleepy newborn.
I know.
So good.
My babies were too good at except for my first. He was like a real snuggler. I always had to rescue the second nap, the big middle of the day nap. Like he needed rescuing. And I enjoyed that for a little while.
Cute.
Yeah.
Oh, my second, could have worn a sling 24/7. That's where he would have liked to have
yeah.
been, but like much trickier. Poor second baby. But my first, I remember when she was like really newborn, and she'd be in a bassinet in the same room as me, and I'd be like, I miss you, and you're right there, fast asleep. And I used to pick her up because I just need to hold my baby. So go and hold your babies. Just do it on the schedule.
Yeah. That's right.
All right. We will see you on the next episode of Nap Trap. Thanks, guys.
See you, team. Bye.
Bye.